Ilam tanang! Tanang! Cyril must go! 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 Cyril must go!
You must have watched the video of the protesters speaking earlier today, the chants, the flags, the determination. South Africa's streets were alive with frustration and defiance as the Ramaphosa Must Go protest swept across major cities. From Johannesburg to Cape Town, Durban to Pretoria, thousands took to the streets demanding change. But this was not just another protest, it was the breaking point of years of growing anger, disappointment, and economic hardship. When Cyril Ramaphosa became president in 2018, he promised a new dawn. People hoped it meant honesty, reform, and the end of corruption. But 7 years later, that dawn feels like a long night. Power cuts remain constant, unemployment has worsened, and corruption allegations continue to surface. For many South Africans, the dream of renewal turned into a daily struggle between finding work, surviving load shedding, and living under an economy that seems to benefit only the few at the top. The protests began as murmurs online. People shared memes, frustrations, and pictures of crumbling infrastructure. But after reports of government wasteful spending and lavish lifestyles by officials surfaced again, those murmurs turned into a roar. Videos circulated showing ordinary citizens shouting, "Enough is enough." The slogan, "Ramaphosa Must Go," spread like wildfire. It was no longer about political parties, it became a national cry for accountability. By early morning, protesters filled the streets. In Pretoria, near the union buildings, crowds chanted while waving South African flags. In Cape Town, students joined workers outside Parliament, demanding better leadership. In Durban, marchers blocked intersections with placards reading "Electricity for all" and "Stop corruption now." Police patrols were heavy, helicopters hovered, but the energy remained high and surprisingly united. Despite differences in race, class, and political background, everyone seemed to agree on one thing: the system is broken. Yet amid the anger, there was humor, the uniquely South African kind. One sign read, "We've been promised a new dawn since 2018, can we get at least a sunrise?" Another said, "Load shedding has lasted longer than most promises." Laughter broke through the tension. Even when protesting, South Africans somehow find a way to laugh through the pain. What makes this movement powerful is that it is not owned by any one group. Civic activists, union members, unemployed graduates, and even disillusioned ANC supporters joined together. Some EFF members were spotted side by side with DA sympathizers. Others carried no party banners at all. They came as South Africans first. Trade unions demanded jobs and accountability. Youth groups called for reform in education and opportunity. Community leaders spoke of hunger, poor service delivery, and a government that has forgotten the people. Critics of the protest argue that this movement is being used by opposition parties to destabilize the government. But organizers insist it is a people's protest, born from lived realities, not party politics. Whether or not that's entirely true, one thing is certain: the protests have struck a nerve in the country's political heart. The Ramaphosa Must Go movement may not unseat the president overnight, but it has already shifted the mood of the nation. Inside the ANC, whispers of discontent are growing. Even long-time supporters privately admit that confidence in Ramaphosa's leadership is fading. Opposition parties sense opportunity, yet many South Africans remain skeptical. They've heard promises before. The real question is whether any politician, from any side, is truly ready to fix what's broken. Still, the risk of escalation looms large. South Africa has a history of protests turning violent, and any heavy-handed police response could ignite more unrest. Organizers are calling for calm and discipline, saying their message must remain peaceful to stay credible. The world is watching, and so are millions of South Africans who stayed home but silently agree with the message. Behind the chanting crowds are stories that explain why the anger runs so deep. There's the unemployed graduate who's been looking for work for 3 years. The pensioner whose grant barely covers groceries. The shop owner whose profits vanish paying for generators during load shedding. These people are not just protesting a president, they're protesting a reality that feels hopeless. Economists warn that continued unrest could scare away investment, but others argue the country is already losing more by doing nothing. Corruption, mismanagement, and policy stagnation have drained confidence for years. The protest, in many ways, is not only about removing one man from office but forcing an entire political system to face accountability. Even those who still support Ramaphosa quietly admit that his promise of renewal has faded. He faces internal party divisions, public distrust, and a worsening economy. His administration's survival will depend on how he responds, whether he chooses dialogue and reform, or doubles down with denial and deflection. Either choice will define his legacy. What happens next is uncertain. Organizers say more marches are planned if their demands are ignored. Some are calling for a national shutdown, while others want early elections. For now, the president has urged calm and insists the government is listening, but the crowds outside say they've heard those words before. They want action, not speeches. Today's protests may go down in history as a turning point, the day South Africans from all walks of life said, "No more." Whether it becomes a movement or fades like many before, it will depend on what happens in the coming weeks. But one thing is clear, the people have found their voice again. They are tired of corruption, tired of excuses, and tired of empty promises. They are demanding a South Africa that works, for everyone, not just a few. You must have watched those protesters speaking, young and old, rich and poor, black and white, united in frustration but also in hope. Because beneath the anger, there is still love for this country, a belief that South Africa can do better, and a desire to hold its leaders accountable. If you believe South Africans deserve better, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts below. Do you think Ramaphosa should step down? Or does he deserve another chance to make things right? Whatever your opinion, this is a conversation worth having. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you next time.